Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Working up top with Jimmy. Returns it. Jimmy, what a catch. Butler is holding on to that knee. That did not look good at all.
I'll take a timeout.
Jimmy Butler is down. And he was in pain immediately. The timeout on the floor with 7:41 left in the third.
Yeah, rough night on that front, and that is the story of the night, despite the fact that the Golden State Warriors do get a win, another one on this homestand. They're 6th in 7 games on the homestand as they get the job done. They beat Miami, actually pulling away from the Heat after the Jimmy Butler injury there in the early portions of the third quarter. 135-112 is the final as we welcome you in here. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. We're coming to you, as always, back here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. So it's great to be here and chop it up talking about Warriors basketball as the Warriors get another nice home win as they pull away from the Heat down the stretch. But Jimmy Butler with the right knee injury, his status obviously is looming large here. And when we get the latest on what's going on with Jimmy Butler, we will make sure to pass it along to you. This is one where I think all of Dub Nation right now is collectively holding their breath because the Warriors are at a point where they've improved their record to 25-19 on the season. And they've set themselves up here with a couple of weeks ago, the trade deadline, to look to add to this team and really make a run in the Western Conference. They're inching closer to the 6th seed. They're only a couple games back of even the 4 seed at this point, with teams sitting right around 10 games over 500. But the Jimmy Butler injury did not look good there in the third quarter. And I know he's had prior issues with that right knee throughout the course of his career, where he had a meniscus tear at one point with the right knee. He also had, I believe it was a hyperextension at one point of that knee as well. And so it has been something that has popped up as problematic at different points throughout the career of Jimmy Butler. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 as the Warriors, for the first time this year, cruel game in that the Warriors have won 4 straight for the first time this season. They've won 6 of 7. They are truly playing their best basketball of the season. They're now, 11-15. I'm sorry, 12-4. So 12 of the last 16 now in the win column since December the 20th in the game against Phoenix. And everybody holding their breath as the waiting game begins as it relates to Jimmy Butler here. And it doesn't look good. As you know, Jimmy writhing in pain there on the ground, and a couple of portions of that, which obviously had to be bleeped out in the opening call. So when we get the latest from Steve Kerr and from the Warriors locker room, again, we will pass it along if you want to react to this one. And again, it opens up, I think, the door to what the heck do they wind up doing with Jonathan Kuminga. Because they have not traded him yet. And if Jimmy Butler is, in fact, out for the season, how does that change the Warriors' outlook, even in playing their best basketball of the season to this point, as far as what would they look to do at the deadline? Again, there's going to be a wide variety of discussion as to, hey, if Jimmy's out for the season, that means one thing. If he's out for the next month to 2 months, that could mean a completely different thing. And then you also have to wonder, would it change course on what the Warriors do regarding Jonathan Kuminga? Would they keep him around? Would they, in essence, go to him and say, hey, we're going to need you and want you to play here moving forward? And again, they control whether he stays or goes. at the deadline here coming up in a couple of weeks, and they also control his contract for next season, that 2026-27 season. Or has the thing reached a point of no return? My initial thought is it probably has reached a point of no return, to where I wouldn't be surprised if there is a nod and a wink agreement between Aaron Turner, Kuminga's agent, and the organization. Hey, this is why your guy's not playing, and they've agreed to not put him out there in certain situations. And so, and not put him out there at all in over the last however many games here, 14 games. Jimmy currently undergoing an MRI, by the way. That is the latest from the Warriors. Jimmy undergoing an MRI on that knee to see what the issue is. Again, the right knee here. Kerr did say that he's getting an MRI, and the update on the MRI with the official announcement is going to be forthcoming, I guess, tomorrow. So we'll see on that again. But I think all of Dub Nation having a hope that it's not an ACL tear. And Steph Curry meeting with the media currently saying he's, quote, praying for the best as far as scans go with the MRI. And obviously Steph has had to get the MRI done a few different times on a number of accounts. And so we'll see. Again, Warriors getting Jimmy Butler and MRI results likely back tomorrow, and then we'll see where things stand at that point. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 as the Warriors do get the win, but without Jimmy Butler down the stretch in this one, and potentially for the foreseeable future. We'll see what those scans say. Obviously has the potential to be a season-altering and maybe even a multi-season altering deal based on what the injury ultimately winds up being. And he was carried off the court. I mean, everybody saw it watching on television. If you were in the building tonight as well, I mean, it was Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga who were the two that were helping him get to the locker room, and he wasn't putting any weight at all on that knee. So again, you have to hope that it's a hyperextension as opposed to maybe a tear, obviously, of an ACL, something that would, of course, in that vein, be season ending. But again, not a lot from the Warriors on that front at this point, as they'll have to await the MRI results, and then we'll see where things eventually shake out. Now, a little bit on the game and where the Warriors are on the floor, because they have won for the 12th time in the last 16 games. They have won 6 out of 7 on the homestand. We talked about anything less than 6 wins on this homestand would be a major disappointment. Well, they got to win number 6 and still have an opportunity with the back-to-back tomorrow against Toronto to even get a 7th win. And how have they been doing it? Well, they've been doing it because they've been hitting the 3-ball at a much higher clip of late. Another night where the Warriors are just absolutely stroking it from 3-point range. Didn't start out hot, but picked it up late in the first half and end up making 14 3-pointers in the second half alone, 24 for 51. So 24 makes at a 47% clip for the Warriors in this one. And man, you go back to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was playing about as well as he had played all year in the moment in which he went down with the injury in that third quarter. You could see tonight was another one of these games, kind of like the game against the Knicks on Thursday when we were last here on Dubs OT. The fact that, he likes going up against Cat. Clearly he had the spark for wanting to go up against the Miami Heat, and he was on one, and he's been on one. Steph ends up with 19 points, but it truly has been the others that have been the big reason why the Warriors have gotten on this hot streak, and it's been Moses Moody, plus 25 in this game for Moses Moody, knocks down 3 more 3-pointers. Moody has been hot as all get out shooting the basketball of late. Brandon Pajemski has been playing excellent. And it really has been a lot of the formula that we saw last year in the 23-8 finish, where it was Steph and Jimmy, uber and ultra aggressive for Golden State. And then it was a lot of Moody and a lot of Pajemski and a lot of others that were stepping up and scoring the basketball. The Warriors have been a top 5 offense over the course of the last 16 games during this stretch, in which they've been able to kind of flip their season around after they dipped to 2 games under 500. Now the 12-4 stretch puts them at 6 over. High water mark for them for the season here at 25-19, as everybody basically holds their breath as it relates to what's going on with Jimmy Butler as he gets the MRI. And again, the question of the night is, what would happen if Jimmy Butler is in fact out? Could that potentially, and again, he's going to be out for some period of time, you would think. It's just a matter of, is it going to be, a 2 to 4, a 4 to 6, a 6 to 8, or a season ender, which obviously would be the case if it is a structural issue with say the ACL, and that would completely flip everything in a moment in which the Warriors were playing their best basketball and really coming together as a team, and really fighting toward having a shot in the Western Conference at being the team that they believed that they could be here in this 25-26 season. Again, I'm looking at it as things sit right now, with the Warriors having won their 4th in a row, just a game and a half back of the 6th seed currently, as the Warriors sit in 8th. And you look at Golden State, if you want to play the game even on the 4 seed, Minnesota's at 27-16. So the Warriors currently are 3 out in the loss column of Minnesota, 2.5 back there. They're 3 out in the loss column, but the Lakers have played fewer games. Lakers and Warriors with the same amount of wins, but the Warriors only a game and a half out there. So you hope for the best. Stephen Curry says praying for the best in his post-game press conference. We'll hear from Steph coming up here on Dubs OT. But again, the Warriors continue to play some of their best basketball of the season, and now they're just having to hope that they can find out that they're not going to be without Jimmy Butler for the remainder of the season, because it would obviously flip everything. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and get to the best YouTube chat in sports, and we appreciate everybody who is watching on YouTube and Twitch here as we get Dubs OT rolling on this holiday Monday, getting closer to the end of this 8-game homestand, tying a franchise record in terms of homestands, and the Warriors getting 6 of the first 7. So let's get to the chat here. A lot of people weighing in with their thoughts. Again, if you want to jump in and join the conversation, it's funny. The game kind of feels irrelevant tonight, but the Warriors continue to play pretty well. Robert Brown, it's hard, especially after the Butler injury, to not think this homestand was probably the highlight of their season. No question. And we'll see how it ultimately shakes out and what the Warriors do. I will say this, just right off the top, it would not change anything for me as it relates to Jonathan Kuminga. I believe that the ship has sailed in terms of things being too far gone to be brought back. And frankly, it's unfair for the Warriors to go to JK and be like, hey, man, now that our season is basically over, if that winds up being the case with Jimmy Butler being hurt, hey, now we need you. Now we want you to play because we don't think we can win a championship, or we don't think we can get a top 6 seed in the West. Now we need you. When it basically had been agreed upon behind the scenes, even without being officially agreed upon behind the scenes, that they were going to look to move him here in the next 2.5 weeks. I don't think it's fair to JK, honestly. And I would think that the Warriors' best course of action would still be to look to make a move to improve the roster as much as you possibly can. And then you wind up, kind of see how far you can get this year. because the other part of the equation is they're still very much, they very much, not that this is anything to write home about, but could be it's not like they're falling out of the play-in either at this point, given the state of the play-in and the state of the Western Conference. As you look around at the standings, we moved up and looked at 6 and 4. If you look down right now, the Warriors are 5 games clear, and get this, they are 4 games clear in the loss column of, actually, I take that back. Yeah, they're 4 games clear of the loss column of just being a play-in team, and they are, at this point, 5 games clear of that. So I do think trying to be the best team you could possibly be, if you could be the best team you possibly can be, then you funnel that player toward next year, and you hope that you get Jimmy Butler, back and able to play at a high enough level to where you could compete at that point. But I think there's more of a value in still looking to make a move if you can, because, and part of that again is the fact that I think it's so far gone. And like I said, also kind of unfair to Kuminga. The other part of the equation is, and this is where I could see the Warriors maybe saying, hey, we'd hang on to him, is the fact that there would be more of a runway without expectations to allow for him to play. The other part of it is, we were already hearing reports about how the value for Kuminga had declined, and teams don't really want to give the Warriors a lot for him, and offers based on what he could have commanded in a trade in the offseason are less now potentially than they were before. And you would know that teams would look to believe that the Warriors are even more desperate if it got to a point where Jimmy Butler was going to be out at this point. And so teams, that would make you less inclined, I think, to want to make a move if you're not going to be able to get even the value that you thought you would get, because teams are basically going to hold you hostage because they want you to make a desperate move because of the injury to Jimmy Butler, if it winds up being a catastrophic kind of an injury. Let's continue on in the YouTube chat. We'll go here about another 5 minutes. We'll get to our first timeout. Warriors would never consider JK, but now with Butler out, they lose all leverage with trades. As Black One says, one Black One says, we'd lucky to even get Wiggins for JK, and that's giving picks to the Heat. I mean, I would take Wiggins. I would take Wiggins for JK in a heartbeat. I think that you would take in a world where you have Jimmy Butler in the mix. But again, you make that move, then you're basically back to the team that you were pre-Jimmy Butler trade from a year ago if Jimmy Butler isn't coming back. But as Robert says, the way Wiggins is playing, the Heat probably aren't trading him. But I know it was the names floating around, sort of the pie in the sky names, Trey Murphy III, but the Warriors would have to include picks for that. Michael Porter Jr. Warriors would have to obviously pick, send some picks in that. Would you want Jeremy Grant, in some kind of a move, or Wiggins? And it was kind of, how would you assess those at that point? So, again, I think you'd take any of those guys. Obviously, you're not getting MPJ and you're not getting Trey Murphy III unless you're including some premium draft capital. So that would have to be something that would have to be factored. But I would definitely take Wiggins for JK. I absolutely would take Wiggins for JK. Darren Brazil, are the Warriors really playing good basketball, or are they just playing mediocre teams during a point in the season where everyone is looking to the All-Star break? It could be a little bit of both, but I think they are playing good basketball. I think they're playing they're making shots. They're not turning it over as much, although turnovers were a problem at different times in this one tonight. But they are playing good basketball. Offensively, they're playing much better basketball than they had at any point this season in the lead up to a month ago. Basically, this is a month now. I mean, it started on December 20th. We're at January 19th. So this is a month. And we've seen the Warriors play mediocre teams in other stretches and not be able to take advantage at this level. In fact, we were questioning the ability to do it. We talked about at the beginning of the homestand. Are the Warriors really going to go 6-2, 7-1 on this homestand? Because everything we'd seen to this point had shown us that the Warriors were not going to be able to consistently play at a level to where they could win 6. I took the under on 6-2 at the beginning of the homestand. Now it may wind up being 7-1, even with Jimmy Butler potentially out. Although, again, everybody holding their breath on that front. All right, 808 KMBR. Let's get a couple of more here. 415-808-5627. Steve's 700. Trades aren't going to help this team. I think it's time to start facing the reality of that. Well, no, trades absolutely can help this team. Why would you think trades can't help this team? Again, the question becomes, do you do nothing if you don't think you can win a championship or even get to the second round of the playoffs because Jimmy Butler potentially is out for the remainder of the season? Does that mean you do nothing? Basically we can't reach a certain level, so we're not going to do anything. Or do you look to try to make a move and be as good as you possibly can be between now and the end of the year, and you let the chips fall where they may, and you move forward toward next season? And again, it's tough to speculate without knowing exactly what, ultimately the injury is. But it is a scenario where you have to look to try to be the best you can be. By the way, Steve Kerr asked in the post-game press conference, could you go back to Kuminga now that Jimmy is injured, and we'll play the cut? Sure, absolutely, says Steve Kerr. Again, it's why you can't count any outcome as sure until it actually plays out. And we'll see. I think it's too far gone. But it's a scenario where, again, everything I think for the Warriors has to be on the table at this point if this winds up being a season-ending injury, which it obviously potentially could be. All right, let's get one more. Darryl Lightfoot, Will Richard, baby, X Factor, Warriors win. Podz playing out of his mind. Yeah, Will Richard got the start for Draymond Green. Warriors got it done again without Draymond, who's been banged up with an ankle. He's expected to play tomorrow. The Warriors played Horford in the front end of the back-to-back tonight. He ended up with 10 points. And by the way, Al Horford's been playing better. Horford, Moody, Podziemski, all playing extremely well compared to where they were at the beginning of the year. And now all of a sudden the Warriors are getting on a heater and they're winning games to the tune of 12 of 16 and 6 out of 7 and 4 straight. Will Richard, though, gets the start. Jimmy went to the 4, and Richard ends up being a plus 19 in his 26 minutes. And somebody that I do think the Warriors are going to have to lean on a heck of a lot more here in the second half of the season. All right, let's take a quick timeout. 808 KMBR, 415-808-5627. We'll come back. We'll get to the phones. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line and more from the YouTube chat as we continue here into the 10 o'clock hour. Warriors win 135-112. But the concern is with Jimmy Butler. What is the significance of Jimmy Butler's injury? To what extent is he hurt? We'll keep you posted as we learn more here into the 10 o'clock hour. Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader.
live from downtown.
Hurry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Oh, no. Another one. He did! Oh, it's Pachevsky's night. The bench is going nuts.
Oh, man. He's saying anybody can get it. No matter who's stepping in front of him, I'm giving him the business.
Someone in Miami must have been disrespecting Brandon.
Yeah, he's tripping.
Brandon Pachemski making the Miami Heat pay to the tune of 24 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. Did have a couple of turnovers, but he knocked down 3 of 7 from three-point range. And he's been playing some quality basketball of late here during the Warriors' 4-game winning streak. 135-112 is the final. As we welcome you back here, Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader, as the Warriors have won for the 6th time in 7 games, and Golden State 12-4 in the last 16. But again, all eyes on Jimmy Butler and the MRI, which is coming up tonight for Jimmy Butler, getting that now. Results to be released early tomorrow morning per the Warriors. And so we'll see. But Brandon Pachemski, during the 4-game winning streak, averaging a little under 19 points per game, 5 boards, 4 assists. He's shooting nearly 60%, and he's over 50% from three-point range during this winning streak, playing a lot more like the Brandon Pachemski that we saw for the Warriors going back to the 23-8 finish to the year in the post-Jimmy Butler trade era there to finish out the season. All right, 808 KNBR, more from the YouTube chat. Golden State Lumber Showroom text line open. We are at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City as the Warriors get the win. And let's get out to the phone lines. And Danny in Vancouver up here to begin the 10 o'clock hour on the Sports Leader. Hey, Danny.
Welcome back, my friend. My commiserations on the 49ers. Tough way to end. So, listen, that was a tough game to watch. It always amazes me how often teams lose a player gets ejected, player goes down, and they just rally. So I was really proud of the way they played. It's so unfortunate. They're playing their best basketball now that this happens. I mean, it's just really, really sucks. So I guess we're going to see. Were you just curious? A couple questions first, JD. Could you
Sure.
You were at the game, obviously. Could you see if he tried to put some weight on the knee? I don't want to speculate, but I'm just curious. I know we're all hoping it's just hyperextended, of course, but could you see if he tried to put any weight on it, first of all?
I mean, he stayed down for a while. The entire time out and then some, he was down and then immediately got up. And if he tried, it wasn't for very long. It was on the far end from where our seats are, where the media seats are. So he was covered for the most part by the players that were gathered around him. And ultimately, I think it was Kuminga and Buddy Hield who helped pick him up and walk him off. But I don't think he could, because Jimmy's as tough as anybody, Danny. I mean, he really is. I mean, he is tough in terms of being able to play through pain and different things like that. So I don't have a firm answer on that because it was blocked, but if he did, it wasn't for very long. And ultimately he was putting no weight on it once they finally got him close to his feet.
Now, what you can help me with this? What I understand that if worst case scenario, there's a disability players exemption. So if he was gone for the season, I understand they can sign someone and they get some salary relief towards the cap. Can you explain that to me a little bit?
Yeah, you can get a disabled player exception for a player that's out for the year. There are a lot of rules that go with it. I know the Warriors are hard capped, but it does allow a team to pick up a injured player who does sustain a season-ending injury, and it allows for up to I think it's about you can sign him up for up to half actually of the injured player salary. But it in Butler's case, it wouldn't even be that much because I think it's capped at whatever the mid-level exception is. So it's I think that's around 12 or 13 million is what it would be capped at.
So half of 12 million or 12, half of 12 million then?
No, it would be the full 12 million. It just can't be. Jimmy makes 54, so it can't be 27, but it could be the full. It instead of 27, it would be the 12. The only thing on that is there are the hard cap, I think, could come into play because the Warriors are a hard cap team at the first apron. And so I'm not sure if they would get exempt from the hard cap. And right now they're about $200,000 under the hard cap. So that's the part that I have to check on, Danny, is you can have this exception, but I don't believe the Warriors are able to go over the hard cap. So they'd almost have to trade salary away to be able to use that, if that makes sense. Right. They'd have to lessen the amount that they are under the hard cap to the amount that they'd be able to use if they got the exception.
But could they use that in the aggregate, JD? So hypothetically, if they traded Kuminga, let's say Buddy Hield, and then could they add that exemption on to the total amount to receive a player back to use against a player coming back? Is that how it works?
I don't believe it can be used. I don't believe it can be used in a trade. I think it's only basically the ability to sign. No, you can trade. Okay, you can trade. I'm looking at the rules right now. I'm digging into like the NBA handbook here, trying to find the rules as we're talking. So you can include it in that. I'm not sure if you can aggregate it. I'm going to have to do a little more reading on that.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. It is something that obviously comes into play here in the worst case scenario. If you're the Warriors, and they may have to be looking at a lot of those options potentially tonight.
Okay. Well, we'll obviously hope for the best. As I said, it's a shame because they're really kind of rounding in the form. I'm really happy to see Podz and Moody playing so well. So we'll see. I mean, maybe best case 3 to 4 weeks. I don't know. We'll cross our fingers. Thanks, JD. Great show as always.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think at this point, Danny, you'd be looking at the Warriors. I think they'd take 6 to 8 weeks at this point if they knew they could get him back. For 6 to 8 weeks at this point would be right around the first second week of March. And I think if you knew you could do that with about a month to go in the season, you would sign up for it. I think in a heartbeat. So I think that's the way you'd have to, if it is a season-ending injury. And again, if it's a season-ending injury, that's the only way you can apply for the disabled player exception. But there are restrictions tied to it in a major way. But it does look like you can have it be a scenario where you can include it in a trade. But again, I have to look at how it affects the hard cap and whether it can be aggregated and all of that. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. 510 on the Kuminga front. It's a wrap. Both sides ready to divorce. So there you go. Let's continue in the YouTube chat here. Best YouTube chat in sports. The Dubs OT YouTube chat. And again, a tough night on a night that should be a continuation of the momentum, as Budacat says, just when the Warriors were starting to stack some wins. I know. Wouldn't you know? And if you're a Warrior 49er fan combo, I mean, my goodness, it's like one season ends, you really maybe for the first time turn your full attention to the Warriors, because tonight was basically the first game since the Warriors season, or since the Niners season ended, and immediately you get hit with a dose of potentially what the 49ers went through through the entirety of their 2025 season. But yeah, wouldn't you know, just as you look to start to become the team that you thought you could be, something like this ultimately happens for Golden State. All right, let's keep it moving here. YouTube chat, a lot of people's thoughts to get to. Bennett Roth, holy cow, do they do the unthinkable and keep Kuminga and start him? I don't think they would start him, but I do think, and look, it's not that crazy. It really isn't as crazy as you would think to say that they would potentially go back to him if Jimmy Butler was going to be out for the season. But again, I think it's too far gone. I think it's too frayed in terms of you basically told him, hey, we don't need you. He basically said, okay, I'm done with you. But now because Jimmy gets injured, we need you. Like, I just there would have to be a lot of apologies and hard feelings wiped away internally just to make it work for a couple of weeks, let alone the next 3 months, and then potentially again into another off season. But as we've had a few people point out, it's a scenario where now teams really are going to lowball you in terms of, like, even more than they would have before. Does Joe Lacob step in and, as Bennett says, do the unthinkable and say, hey, we're keeping him. So figure it out and play him. That's something that you'd have to pay attention to. Casey brings up an interesting point, or Cozy Codes. Could they trade Jimmy if he's out all season? The answer is yes, if the team that the Warriors would be trading him to would be willing to take him on. But the answer is yes, they could. They could trade him. Would you do but he is also under contract for another season, so the team that would get him would have to want him for next season as well. So I think, it takes two to tango, but by rule, yes, you could potentially trade Jimmy Butler. But again, I don't think that's necessarily going to be the first, second, or third option. Black One says, who wants 55? Well, you're right. But we've said a few different times, Jimmy Butler makes the same amount of money as Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis is somebody that's going to be out for a while, albeit not the remainder of the season. The problem is I don't think Dallas would want Jimmy Butler. So it would have to be some kind of a 3-team trade involved there. And who would want Jimmy Butler, and how would they move money around that team to get up into the mix of the $54 million salary that Jimmy makes? So it would take a third team, because, again, I don't think Dallas would trade Anthony Davis, but I'm looking at the Dallas Mavericks salaries here, and the Dallas Mavericks are not going to be a team, I think, that would want to be taking Jimmy Butler back. But yeah, Jimmy and Anthony Davis make the exact same amount of money. And again, Davis has longer on his deal at this point, so maybe that would be a reason for Dallas to want to get off of it. But I don't think Jimmy, even an injured Jimmy, would be something that they would necessarily want. Would they want Jimmy maybe to flip Jimmy? Again, these are the kinds of things you would have to ask yourself. Would they do a Davis for Jimmy Butler trade, keep with the savings being that they don't have to worry about Davis picking up that player option, which goes a year beyond Jimmy's deal, and Jimmy would become an expiring contract for next season? Would they potentially look to ship Jimmy off somewhere to a team that would want him? I mean, that's the kind of creative thinking that you would have to be in play here if you would look to want to do that. But I just don't think that Dallas would necessarily want to be taking Jimmy Butler on. Although, again, maybe they get into tank mode. Maybe they want off Davis, potentially opting into over $60 million in a couple of years, and they would be more willing. more willing to look to do that. Let's continue in the chat. Robert Brown hurts a lot too because Butler isn't tradable anymore, but I don't think it would have ever happened. Yeah, I don't think they were going to trade healthy Jimmy Butler, Robert. I don't think they were going to trade Jimmy Butler had he remained. Jimmy Butler was playing awesome. Jimmy Butler really was. If you look at the numbers, and he was coming along as everybody has been over the last month, but Jimmy Butler was having a really strong season for the Warriors and getting better as he had been more aggressive in the last month and even in recent weeks. I mean, his best game of the season, I think, was, you look at his, I mean, he's having his best week of the season. I know that. And Jimmy was playing great in what was his last game. He didn't play against Charlotte, but Jimmy was great against the Knicks, and he was great tonight. And so I think that's the thing that you have to factor in here as it moves forward. But now you just have to hope that it's a hyperextension or a really bad sprain with no ligament damage. And again, even that at this point, you hate to speculate on, but it looked as if Nikola Jokic about a month ago or a few weeks ago was done for the year in the moment, and it wound up not being the case and a hyperextension, and he wound up being able to come back. But again, this very different. The Nuggets had already kind of leaked out that they were, thought it was a hyperextension and not something more severe. The Warriors at a point where they're I think hoping for the best, but obviously potentially fearing the worst as Jimmy goes for that MRI tonight. Let's move it forward here. Keep it rolling. We'll get to as many as we can in the next 6-7 minutes here. The YouTube chat, Dubs OT with JD, as the Warriors do get the win. But again, all of the concern as it relates to Jimmy Butler and his knee injury sustained in the third quarter tonight. All right, let's keep it rolling with Cozy Codes. Jimmy Butler loves playing for this team. You can tell. Makes this even more sad. Again, he was coming on in a major way of late, and it just makes it, if it is the worst case scenario, all the more difficult to palate considering the timing and everything involved there. Let's keep it moving as we roll through the YouTube chat here. Erwin Kwong, great to hear from Erwin. Jimmy Butler was the speed governor for Curry, Green, and the motion offense. And they were using him, I think, more appropriately also over the last month, kind of forcing him to be more aggressive than he had been earlier in the season. And I think the wins were coming. The wins were coming as a result of Jimmy looking to be more aggressive. And look, we've seen what this team is without Jimmy Butler and no help. It's last year's version of the Warriors before they made the Jimmy Butler trade. And that team over a 50-game sample size was a sub-500 team by a game. Now, if you're a sub-500 team by a game, oh, no, by the way, that's with Andrew Wiggins. So if you're a sub-500 team from now till the end of the year by one game, you're basically a 44, 43 win team. And that probably gets you, worst case scenario, an 8 or a 9 at that point. But again, for who, for what, as it relates to the way things stand. EB here, Butler was laughing, cutting it up as he left the court. He wasn't crying. That is a good sign if you're looking for good signs. That is a good sign, I suppose, if you're looking for good signs. But again, I think anybody's looking for any kind of sign of hope. Hopium. The hopium is running high at this point. But yeah, I think he was screaming pretty loudly when he was down on the court. Blake Everts, 7075. Thanks for chiming in. Always love seeing the newbies, and we got quite a few here as we roll through on Dubs OT on this Monday. At this point of the season, if the injury is serious, it's hard not to see this impacting next season due to rehab, and also likely would alter his career. He's 37 next season, no doubt. If this is an ACL, I guess the one good thing, if it, and I shouldn't even phrase it that way, but if it is an ACL, at least it's January and not April or May. But because an ACL, even if it was 9 months, the regular season still will have not started yet. I mean, the regular season for next year is at a point where it's still basically almost 9 months away to the day. But if the Warriors are going to really, the ramifications from this, I do think, are significant, and how the Warriors handle it. Because again, I don't think the Warriors can just sit on their hands and say, well, Jimmy's out, we're going to let it ride with the team we have and bring Kuminga back into the fold. It may mean that this year is cooked. It may potentially mean that this year is cooked as far as a 6 seed, as far as a title. Again, I think we already knew that a title wasn't going to be in the cards. But I think you have to try to attempt to be as good as you potentially can be here between now and the end of the year. But you're right. And this is the downside of having older players. It becomes concerning, the older players. Hey, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up with the Niners, brother?
The Niners?
What are you talking about right now?
I'm talking Warriors right now, but what's your name?
Bro, I'm
Noel? Noel, appreciate you. Come on over here for a second. Just don't swear. Only rule. But no, come on over. Just say hi. Say hi to the people here on KNBR. Say what's up. Appreciate.
Go, Curry.
There you go. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, you down. Miami is down. Let's go, Hoosiers.
All right. Yeah. Okay. You're pulling for the Hoosiers. I think everybody was pulling for the Hoosiers tonight. Appreciate you.
Hey, honestly, I'm going through it right now, bro. McCaffrey, Shanahan is the best coach in the league. Shanahan is the best coach in the league. We had no players, bro. Everybody counted us out, bro.
And hopefully the Warriors don't find themselves in that same spot now with Jimmy, man. Everybody's going through it. Everybody's going through it. Prayers to Jimmy. Noel, thanks for stopping by, my man. Appreciate you. Always. Have a great night. Oh, the one rule. Noel, my man. No, you're good. We got it. Kyle, we got that, right? We got that. It's the one rule, man.
Well, it was a little predictable, but
we got that, right?
Yeah. No, we are good.
Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. No cap. Let's see. JD, Joe already didn't want to trade Kuminga in the first place. Got a perfect get-out-of-jail-free card to not have to trade Kuminga and not have to part with assets, especially if it's an ACL, because that would be it's over for the Steph era. I don't know that it would mean it's over for the Steph era because Steph's still got one more year in his contract, but this is going to be a telling couple of weeks if it winds up in the worst-case scenario for Jimmy Butler as it relates to the injury. My guy Noel, he's like, I want to talk some Warriors. We'll talk some Niners. That's on me. That's on me.
He was still getting over it. He was still getting over the Niners loss.
He was still getting over it. He was in on the Hoosiers tonight, like a lot of people were. It came. At least on the radio, the folks in the YouTube chat got the full show, as they always do, which is why it is the best way to consume Dubs OT. But yeah, it was a long and winding road for our friend Noel. But we appreciate you, and you're right, Ian J. You're right. I said to him, I said, man, we got one rule. So we got one rule: just don't swear. But everybody wins. I'll take it. I'll be honest. I'm a little shook. I'm a little shook like everybody is, by the Jimmy Butler news. To be honest, if Butler is gone for the season, we should just start building for next year by potentially getting a superstar with Kuminga, Horford, maybe, and some picks. Again, I don't know who the superstar potentially would be, Tyler. But to me, the move is look to try to make this thing as good as you possibly can be, folding it toward next year while also giving yourself the best chance to not completely fall off the rails for the final 2.5 to 3 months of this season. Again, the question becomes, is it too far gone between Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga? Is it too far gone between the Warriors organization and Jonathan Kuminga to be able to look to make, some semblance of a move? I think all things are going to be considered for the Warriors in the next couple of weeks if it winds up being the worst case scenario. All right, let's do 2 more. We'll take a timeout and then come back. JD, is there an electrical substation outside Chase? Yikes. Season over. No trade happening for Kuminga now. If they go 1 for 5, everything now is in the off season. You might be right, but again, I think I can't imagine there being another scenario where he's on the team, he's playing, you look to trade him in the offseason. Maybe his value goes up if you do wind up playing him in some carefree circumstances, and maybe you make him a promise that you'll move him in the offseason for sure, but he also is going to get a chance to play. But again, at this point, I can understand if Kuminga, as critical as I've been of him, I can understand if Kuminga isn't exactly down for that as being the plan here, being the backup plan. I mean, it was reported that Kuminga didn't want to be the backup plan in the offseason. But again, I don't think they blow it up. A lot of people saying, do they blow it up? Do they blow it up? This was more of a 2-year plan than a 1-year plan. And again, I know Jimmy's ability to be a quality player for next year is in question if it is the worst case scenario. But I don't know. I still think you have to look to try to make the most that you possibly can from the Steph Curry era. All right, 1 more, and then we'll pause here. Appreciate you. Joke's on you. Jay Bird, done folding toward next year, folks. The run is over. No copium left. I think a lot of Warrior fans are exhausted, unfortunately, at the way this thing is played out. And again, especially if you're a Warriors-Niners combo fan, which of course so many in the Bay Area and beyond are here with the Niners going out the way they did and all the injuries, and now the Warriors potentially immediately being in that same boat. All right, we're going to get more from the YouTube chat coming up, but coming up straight ahead, we'll hear from Steve Kerr, we'll hear from Steph Curry and others as the Warriors get the win tonight, but everybody holding their breath on the Jimmy Butler front. 135 to 112 is the final. It is Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no ball.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, back here, Dubs OT. We'll get to sounds of Dubs OT in just a moment. Do want to sneak in a call here before we get to it. Dave in San Francisco is next on the phone lines at 808 KNBR here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Dave, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, JD, how you doing?
We're hanging in there tonight. Great game, okay. Nice win, and could be in a lot of trouble also when they get that MRI result tomorrow morning.
I was at the game, and it looked pretty horrific, just his face. But I think this could open the doors for looking at Giannis. If you look at Milwaukee, they're in 11th place. They might be ready to cash in because they're in 11th place. And now we've got a salary to trade to get him. And it would take Giannis probably say if he wanted to go. But I would say with Lacob and how aggressive he is, big-time organizations kind of look for things like this to make seismic change.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And I think the bigger picture, and I know there's probably going to be people that say, well, wait a minute, that's like people have probably chuckled a little bit at hearing you say that. But the one thing I will say, Jimmy and Giannis do make the same amount of money, at exactly $54.1 million. And the issue with that, though, is do the Warriors have enough to offer the Bucks, in terms of every pick they could possibly give, plus the Jimmy Butler salary? Would the Bucks be willing to take Jimmy Butler back for this year and next? Jimmy under contract for next year, so that part of it would be a wash. They basically have the same amount of money on their books for next year with Jimmy as it is for Giannis. But would the Warriors be willing to give up Podziemski, Kuminga, Moody, and like 4 picks, the maximum amount of picks they can give. And obviously, the money on that doesn't work. So you'd have to take other players back. So it would have to be a massive creative endeavor, but all of that is silly to even think about, Dave, unless Giannis were to go to the Bucks and say, hey, I want out and I want to go here specifically. Would he do that? I think is probably the number one question. And then would the Warriors have enough, I think, would be the number 2 question. My point, though, on it would be, Dave, the Warriors have to look to explore every possible major option they can if this winds up being the worst-case scenario for Jimmy and he winds up being out for the entire season.
No, I totally agree with you.
Thanks
I think if this is the worst-case scenario, he's not going to be very effective next year. Maybe, ACLs, he can come back within, 10 to 12 months. But then at age 37, 38, is he going to be effective? If Milwaukee was going to turn it over, and I'm looking at them in 11th place, are they really thinking they're going to, is this the time? But you're right. It would have to take Giannis making a statement. And at that point, you'd have to do a big deal. And, maybe we get Miles Turner back and we throw all those young guys in. But I just think Lakers going to probably think big. And it crossed my mind. So appreciate all your work, JD.
No, Dave, I appreciate it. And again, I think that the overarching theme here, and we'll bring in our buddy Kyle Harr before we get to Sounds of Dubs OT. I think the overarching theme is you got to look to do everything you possibly can and not just say, because you know what I've seen a lot tonight, Kyle? I've seen a lot of, well, if Jimmy's out for the season, then they're going to make no trades and they're going to keep Kuminga and they're going to make Kerr play him. And I don't feel like that's an option for this Warriors team. Yes, a title may be off the board. It was already off the board. To me, you need to look at Anthony Davis. You need to look at Giannis, although, again, I don't think Milwaukee's doing it for what the Warriors have to offer. Let's before everybody starts laughing, let's, make that point. But I completely disagree with the notion that if Butler's out for the year, the Warriors just fold it up and play out the next 3 months and do nothing other than play Kuminga and extend this thing into another offseason of will they or will they not ultimately trade him.
Yeah, I think the key now, and if it is the worst case scenario, I think the key now is that they are going to have to get creative. I think there was like a concrete, targets that they wanted at the top of the board. And now they might have to get creative if they won't have Jimmy Butler for the foreseeable future.
And let's get to this one chat here from One Black One, who's been a wonderful contributor tonight. Curry won't let it become an option. He's expressed that he's only here as long as the Warriors are always trying to give him a chance, no matter how slim. Curry may have to put his foot down a little bit. And we've seen him at least publicly be reluctant to do that. But he may have to do that. Or does Curry say, well, you tried with Jimmy and he got hurt and nobody could predict that. So ultimately you wind up, well, it's a wash. I think, again, I'll say it. We'll get to our Sounds of Dubs OT. To me, the Warriors cannot use this as an excuse to do nothing. That option is completely off the table. All right, let's get to our Sounds of Dubs OT here with the latest. And a lot of this we've gotten into in terms of quotes here. We'll hear a couple of Currys. We'll hear a couple of Steve Kerrs. Let's hear Steph, who was obviously asked about Jimmy Butler's status. And here's what he had to say about that and if the Warriors have to play an extended period of time or any period of time, frankly, without Jimmy.
No, I won't talk about him being out until we know what's going on. But the way we played down the stretch of the game tonight, BP being aggressive scorer, Buddy coming in, staying ready, knocking down shots, Moses, And then Al off the bench, like we're gonna have to do it by committee if anybody goes down. But we'll figure out what the plan ahead is, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, so wait and see. Like everybody else, I know Steve Kerr had said it was very subdued, and everybody kind of subdued, just kind of waiting as to what it would be, and nobody talking. So we'll see. Here's more Steph on Jimmy and just everything, obviously, that he brings to the table, and the Warriors would be missing if he's going to be out.
He's all reliable. I think he makes his presence felt in pretty much every game, and I think the idea of what he does for us is he just meets whatever moment it is, whether he needs a score, whether he gets everybody organized defensively, what he does, all his playmaking. So I think since the trade deadline last year and, the way we ended last year and this season, he's done exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable. And again, I know at times there's been an aggressiveness that Warrior fans would wish to be there a little bit more frequently. That aggressiveness, I feel like, has been there over the course of the last month, and I think it's led to the Warriors winning. And he's played a lot. He's played more than I think you would have anticipated. You remember the PTO Jimmy and needing rest and general soreness and those kinds of things that I think frustrated Miami at times. There really hadn't been a lot of that. The Warriors have given him some nights here and there. He's been pretty durable for the most part. And I think they've been, as time has gone on here throughout the course of this season, they've gotten exactly what they've wanted out of Jimmy Butler. All right, let's hear from Steve Kerr. First, a little moment of levity here as Steve relayed a story about Jimmy as he was laying on the ground there with his teammates surrounding him, kind of figuring out whether he'd be able to get up or not.
Yeah, he asked the ref if it was 2 free throws or not, and so he was kind of chuckling as he said it. So hopefully that's a good sign. But again, we don't know anything.
So, yeah, no official note there on that. And so Steve then went on to address the situation, what lies ahead, and just the importance. Again, everybody knows it. He was brought here to be the Robin to Stephen Curry's Batman, and so it would be a major, major loss for any amount of time. If it's 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, or an entire remainder of this season, and a good chunk of the off season, pending the injury. Here's Steve on what the Warriors would be missing and where they kind of go from here once they find out the news.
Well, he's an alpha. He's one of those guys in the league who everybody else in the gym knows. That's the guy, and he has that presence, but he also has that game where we can play through him, possession after possession. And so, yeah, assuming we'll be without him for a little bit, we're going to miss him. We got a lot of players who can play, and we're showing our depth right now. And but we'll just wait for the news to figure out what's next.
And everybody waiting on the news to figure out what's going to be next. And again, that the one thing we do know is it is going to be some amount of time. There is going to be some amount of time. Again, at this point, I don't like to play doctor and speculate and all that, but I would imagine. I mean, it would feel like a borderline miracle at this point if it wound up being a couple of weeks. I mean, it feels like All-Star break at a minimum, if not longer. And the All-Star break now basically about a month away. The Warriors' first game after the All-Star break is a month from today. So we shall see on that front. But again, anything short, given the way it looked from being inside a Chase Center and him being carried off the court, anything short of season ending at this point feels like it would be a major win for the Warriors, because it would at least stoke the pressure toward continuing to look to do something to add to this roster before the deadline on February 5th, which is coming up, 2 weeks and 2 days away as we approach Tuesday. All right, let's hear one more from Steve. And again, the question that had to be asked, is the question in the clip? Yes. Okay. The question is in the clip. All right. So we'll play it. The question had to be asked. Here's Steve Kerr.
Obviously don't know any time frame or what, time Jimmy might miss, but could you go to Kuminga if there is a need for
Sure,
that position?
absolutely.
Is he ready? I mean, in practice and all those things?
Yeah.
So there you go. Tim Kawakami with the question of the SF Standard. And Kyle, why are you smiling? Why are you smiling?
Well,
anybody could have asked it.
No.
It was TK.
It wasn't that Kawakami was asking it.
I thought it was going to be Danny Emmerman for the chat. I thought it would be Danny Emmerman.
Yeah, Emmerman,
anyway,
get in there. But no. It's just like Steve Kerr's like, no more Kuminga questions, please. Like that kind of tone in his response.
Yeah, well, again, it's why things are never over until they're over, and so we shall see. But yeah, I say it. I would still look to trade Kuminga, but at the very least, Kuminga may have to be dusted off and played in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, and I know Mitchell Ness saying, JK should say thanks, but no thanks. I don't really think in this particular scenario he can say thanks, but no thanks. He can feel it, but I don't think he can actually say it at this point when he's getting $22.5 million and potentially a little bit more than that to play, to play next year as well. All right. 808 KNBR, final 10, 15 minutes or so, about 10 minutes. We'll go about 10 minutes and close things up here on Dubs OT, about 10, 15 minutes. Do we need to take a break, Kyle, before the top of the hour? No break before the top of the hour. Okay, I want to make sure we get to that. Bee's Knees, just free Kerr of his duties if you're keeping Kuminga. Yeah, that ain't happening. Ain't happening, Bee's Knees. It's not. Not with this team playing better basketball over the course of the last month. Bottom line, it's not happening. Erwin Kwong, with Jimmy going down, does Buddy channel his spirit by upping his game? A couple of good games from Buddy in a row. Back in the fold a little bit. Just when he was left for dead, he had 16 tonight. Knocked down 4 threes. Had a nice game against Charlotte the other night on the watch back. Getting in to the action there. 14 plus 10. So, we'll see. They are going to kind of, as Steph said, they're going to have to lean on everybody. JC Mack, JK should be presenting himself instead if he's being a real professional. I agree. Again, this is a little bit of a different scenario if it winds up being a season ender. Again, I want to be clear here. If it winds up being a season ender for Jimmy, then he needs to be a pro, and if the Warriors want to play him, he needs to play. Bottom line. That's where my opinion of that will shift a little bit. If it's not a season ender, then I can kind of understand a different maybe setting as it relates to that. Let's keep it rolling. It's not over till it's over. If the role players can't keep up what they've been doing now, low turnover, we still have Wardell the Great to make some. All right. So there you go. Keep it rolling. Again, there is no world where I look at the way the Warriors have played in the last month if Jimmy's out for the season and then say punt or quit or just roll with what you got. Like, you keep trying to be the best team you can be, and you're probably going to come. I mean, look at the 49ers. Can the Warriors take from the 49ers and find ways to win games in the second half of the year while also pretty much fully knowing that they can't be a championship contending team? Like, that's all they got to do is look at the 49er template, figure it out, find ways to win as many games as you can, continue to look to add to this roster the best you can, and go from there. Andis, Levy Lions ready to go. Yeah. He got some action tonight, Andis. He got some action in the game tonight for the first time. A lot of Guy Santos coming right up. Well, yeah, Guy's got the ankle that kept him out tonight as well. But they're gonna have to lean on Guy. They're gonna have to lean on everybody. Rich Ray, Steph can't play the whole game. No, he can't. And the non-Steph minutes grow to be its own new thing again. We've kind of forgotten about the non-Steph minutes with Jimmy here because Jimmy plays all the non-Steph minutes for the most part, and the non-Steph minutes are much less threatening with Jimmy Butler in the fold. John Jay, can the Warriors have a last place schedule too? Well, some would say they've kind of had the last place schedule over the last month, and that's why they've been winning. But no, I disagree with that. Unfortunately, no. Dr. P, full circle moment that he gets injured against his former team. Yeah, no kidding. That is a thought that I definitely had. JMU22, JK, gone, trade Jimmy for AD. Dallas may consider it. That's an interesting one because you could have AD for the end of this year. It's interesting, right? If Jimmy's out for the year, would you trade Jimmy out for the year for AD could be coming back in March? It's kind of what you hope to be one of the better case scenarios for Jimmy at this point. Could you get him back by March? I think if you could sign up for that's interesting. Would Dallas do it is the question. And that's the part where I'm not sure. But I guess they could repurpose Jimmy once he proves to be healthy in the offseason if it winds up being that. All right, let's Melton will have to be the number 2. I think he can do it with health. We were just talking about Melton being the number 3 and preferring that he be the number 4. I don't think you want to make Melton the number 2. I think that is too much to ask. I think being the number 3 consistently is probably too much to ask. But DeAnthony Melton has been spectacular. My goodness. I saw this note. DeAnthony Melton, pretty incredibly over the last, 6 games. He didn't play tonight because he's not playing back-to-back, so he'll be out there tomorrow when the Warriors take on the Raptors. 17.2 points on 43% shooting from 3 in the last 6 games. And, of course, the Warriors 5-1 in those last 6 games. But he can be your 3 some of the time. I don't know that he can be your second option, to be sure. Let's roll on here, keeping it positive. Podz playing well, Moody looking solid, Melton playing tomorrow, Dre back tomorrow. Positive vibes. I like that, Andis. You got to have positive. You got to keep laughing, if only to keep you from crying. That's the reality, I think, of the situation. Gene, this is devastating. The longest 24 hours in Warriors history waiting for news. Wow. Warriors history. I don't know. Warriors history. But it is going to be a long 24 hours because, as we've said a bunch of times, there are some major ramifications in play here based on what this is. As Bennett says, even Jimmy was laughing getting helped off the floor. So you got to hope, and sometimes guys get scared and they stay down for a long time and then they're able to get in and shake it off. But again, it looked pretty bad without going full doctor mode. All right, let's get to our Dubs OT comment of the night in our final 5 minutes.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
LM, CMC and Juice have seen this all season. Have seen this scene all season. They were in the house tonight. I don't know if that was shown on the telecast, Kyle.
It was. And it's now kind of ironic.
CMC and Juice were at the game tonight, sitting courtside as they moved on from their own loss. By the way, great to see Zerkerex tonight. He stopped by and said hi here at Harmonic. Had a brew, stopped by, said hi, and we appreciate Zerkerex for stopping by. Much better showing from Zerk than our guy Noel. I'm like, Noel, you got one rule, man. Just I'm going to put you on. You can speak your piece. You just can't swear. And then my guy drops an F-bomb out the door. Like, come on, man. Can't do that. You can't do that.
Part of me likes to believe that
I should have known better.
I don't think he heard or understood you or anything in between that.
He was in his own world.
It was heartbreaking.
You're saying he was in his own world.
Yeah.
But he was here with a nice group. He was here with a group. So, again, always be safe, everybody, here. All right, let's close up shop with some fun with numbers.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All of these numbers more painful, by the way, as we wait for the news on Jimmy. Here we go, Kyle. You ready? Season high 4-game winning streak. 6-1 on franchise record, tying 8-game homestand. They've won 12 of the last 16, including 6 of the last 7. Have the Warriors at home? They've won 10 of the last 12, including the 4 straight on the homestand. Yes, Rich Ray, you're right. He was, as you say. Ties an NBA record. The Warriors' 4th time this season with 24 3-pointers. Ties an NBA record for the most consecutive 20-plus 3-point games. So the Warriors why are the Warriors won 4 in a row? Because they're hitting 20-plus threes a game. Ties an NBA record for the most consecutive games with 9 players having at least 1 3-pointer. OKC did it a couple of years ago. 3 consecutive games shooting over 50% from the field. That goes to in the Warriors' notes as well. And 38 assists tonight for Golden State. They were turning it over too much early, but you look up at the end of the night, only 13. And Steve Kerr always says that 12 turnovers or less is basically the barometer for an A. If you get 12, it's basically an A- to an A. And so the Warriors end up with 13. So they had a bunch early, but they were able to cut out the turnovers as they got through the game. But 38 assists. The ball was hopping, and again, the ball was hopping, and they're making shots, which cash in a lot of those assists. Warriors are 20-4 when they have the same or fewer amount of turnovers, 15-2 at home, and again, 7-1 overall, 6-0 at home in games where they score 130 or more points on the season. Again, all right, that's going to do it for us here as you listen to KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco, the sports leader, Cumulus Media Station, into the 11 o'clock hour. But just briefly, because we are going to call it a night, again, no official news on Jimmy Butler. Again, he's going through the MRI, and he will be evaluated, and the results of the MRI to be released tomorrow. And so look for that. The Warriors with the back-to-back tomorrow against Toronto. So we'll be back here at Harmonic as well immediately following the end of that one. So big thanks to everybody in the YouTube chat. Big thanks to our callers. Big thanks to Mike and Jess out here at Harmonic and Thrive City. We'll talk to you tomorrow when we get the news. What's going on with Jimmy Butler as he goes down with the knee injury in the third quarter against Miami tonight. All right, Dubs OT with JD. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Quick turnaround. Cheers to everybody, and keep it locked right here for the latest on the Sports Leader. Emirates Cup or bust?
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you got to start off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big